with tradition only until he is sworn in as president. And the swearing in ceremony will be at 12 noon. Before there were other presidents who had them who took oath of office on Rizal Day, December 30. But with the revised constitution in 1987, it is now June 30, 12 noon.
We now see the Rizal Hall packed with our guests, our very selected guests from the diplomatic community, the members of the cabinet, special guests of
Special guests from Davao.
Duterte.
We also note that there are, like, when we say special guests, there's even one on the list that is who happens to be the neighbor of President-elect Duterte. He personally sent an invitation because I think when you say neighbor, it means that the house next to his house. He must have had a wonderful relationship with the neighbor, being good neighbors to each other, that he gets to invite. Who would have thought, the person who would invite me would be the next president of the country.
That's true. Earlier we saw the two presidents, one outgoing and one incoming, sit down behind the presidential seal, and later on we'll witness the signing of the guest book. And after the president-elect Rodrigo Duterte signs that book will be closed and will be kept at the Malacanang Library Archives.
Yes, and as we see now, our selected guest members of the diplomatic corps, also some members of the cabinet here.
Right below we have incoming DOE Secretary Alfonso Cusi.
Yes, and we also have members from the military. Originally it was supposed to be only 150 guests. Now it is around 600. Everyone
still
wants
a small
to
number compared to the previous inauguration.
A conservative number at that. Okay, so as we speak right now, are the two presidents. If I may say that, the two presidents are inside a room. I don't know what they're talking about, but they would be the only people to know. Afterwards, we will be witnessing the departure ceremony for the 15th president, President Aquino, and once the incoming president, the 16th president, makes his way back to the Rizal Hall, we will officially start the oath-taking ceremony.
Currently being shown are the members of the cabinet of the incoming Duterte administration, each expected to lead their own departments with such fervor and gusto.
The instructions were very clear from the president-elect, and they're just simple. Stop everything. Stop corruption. Make services now accessible to people, and do not make the taxpayers suffer. I'm pretty sure, like earlier, Secretary Bello also has his marching orders for the Department of Labor and Employment that, if you process papers, it has to be 3 days maximum.
72 hours.
72 hours. If you do not, it's your name, your neck on the line, and your job on the line. Because on a personal note, having to experience my work with President-elect Duterte at the time that he was mayor, he really wants you to finish the job at the fastest time possible. He does not want to hear any complaint from anyone, especially if it deals with public service. At that time, I could remember Mayor Duterte does not like people lining up under the heat of the sun. He does not.
Rightfully so.
Yes, because for him it's like, and he said that in one interview also, that our job is supposed to make things easier for you, for the taxpayer. He cannot fathom the idea of people just standing under the heat of the sun, waiting for their turn in line, and some government officials not doing their job, or if they're doing it, it's not even at the pace that he wants it. Because when he says he wants something done, it's like saying, I need that yesterday.
Oh, okay. And
that's how he is.
And obviously he really regards time as a valuable resource, because it also affects the economy in general if you look at it.
As a matter of fact, also, he knows that he's going to be hitting the ground running now. As a matter of fact, earlier, Secretary Bello flew straight to Oslo with incoming Secretary Duresa to resume the peace talks. Again, he wants to bring everyone back. Let's rally and let's unite as one nation. Let's bring back that pride of being the republic. The only way to do that, it's going to be a painstaking process, but it has to be done.
And somebody has to do it
And
and
somebody
lead the
has to
nation
do it.
for that
Exactly.
change that everyone is expecting.
Exactly. So to our viewers around the world right now, we thank you for joining us. Yes, minutes from now, we will be witnessing the inaugural of the 16th President of the Philippines. And also, we'll be, as soon as the program starts, we will catch you later on, right after all the ceremonies have been done.
And apart from the oath-taking ceremony that will happen later on, the cabinet secretaries will also be sworn into office, and after which they will have their first official cabinet meeting.
Yes, yes, good that you brought it up. The cabinet meeting officially will the first cabinet meeting is right after the oath taking. That's how fast he wants the job done, because and don't quote me on this, I overheard the president-elect says, as soon as I get to office, let's get work done. There's no tomorrow, let's do it now.
No time wasted.
No time wasted for this gentleman. And we also are looking at changes in the way the way that systems will be, things will be done for everybody. Hopefully within the next 2-3 years, even the president said, no, as soon as I assume office, you will feel it. So everyone, all the 16.6 million people who voted for him are looking forward to that.
And the Malacanang grounds are now experiencing some finishing touches for
Yes,
the
the
departure
final preparations are being made now
Underway.
for the departure ceremonies. As soon as this is done, I think we'll be turning you over to that ceremony. Our guests are also eager. History in the making. Today, the 16th president, the first one from the island of Mindanao, and the first president from Davao City.
You know what's very touching for me personally, earlier when you interviewed the deputy mayors, they said that they don't have to give us a position. We are here to support the president.
Because they have always been like that. That's why the president-elect knows if you serve him without anything in return, you are guaranteed to get his loyalty. Because President-elect Duterte is also a good judge of character. So this will speak highly of how he will be leading all of us. So he challenged some government officials to stop their corrupt practices, because if they don't stop, maybe this time they will get to know who our president-elect really is.
And for example, from the past business meeting in Davao earlier this week or last week, we see some major changes from the reactions of the business sector leaders. For example, in terms of opening up private subdivisions. Before,
Yes.
they were very adamant and very firm that they're not going to open. But once he said that, we need this. We need to make some major
Yes.
changes in our in the way we approach things. And you see the people approving of this big move.
Because he also believes that investment, for the business sector, that government should make it also easy and accessible, and make sure that the incentives are also positive. I mean, are favorable for the investors, because he just released the 10-point economic agenda, which pretty soon we will all find out, because I think the incoming Finance Secretary Dominguez will also have his hands full. But overall, I think the general atmosphere of the business sector is that very optimistic that yes, things may be done, and they also approve that before we move forward, when we progress as a nation, we have to start at the basics, which is law and order, peace and order.
And the ease of doing business here in the country, which will eventually tackle the problem on corruption
Yes.
that was earlier mentioned, and that he really wants to get rid of that in his
I
administration.
bet you a lot of officials who are engaged in such practices right now, they just to tell you straightforward, when what President-elect Duterte says that you stop or I will stop you, he means it. He means it.
And we look forward to that kind of leadership from the incoming president.
Yes. So our countdown begins officially today, live here at the Malacanang Palace for the inaugural. Our guests, we also now see former and new officials in the government. And we also see with us now some officials there from Davao City, family members who are now seated and waiting for the ceremony to begin. I think this section, we see celebrities also in this section. I know of some faces there that we're so happy that they have been invited and they're here joining us for this event.
It's really nice to see that all sectors of the society are given a voice in this incoming administration.
Yes.
Not only the government officials, but as well as the business sector, the diplomatic community, and their inputs are considered in crafting the laws.
I agree
the
with you
policies.
because Mayor Duterte is not the type of person to, he's not the type of person just to jump the gun. He's a tactician too. Make no mistake, he knows when you're fooling around. He knows if you're pulling his leg. That's why he just wants to hire the best people right now because he feels that this country is ailing and corruption is still there. Poverty is still there. The ability for the country to produce more is being hampered because there are so many other things that we all neglect to do, to prioritize, if you put it in that perspective, to prioritize.
And it was earlier reported that President Duterte and incoming President Duterte and outgoing President Aquino hopes to have a one-on-one moment for them to probably exchange some.
I think that's what's happening right now. Again, we cannot give you what exactly the details of what are they talking about because that's also part of the tradition. People ask, what do they normally talk about? What does the outgoing president say to the incoming president?
After 6 years
After
of
6
ruling
years.
the country.
And it was also, just to note, the previous administration turnover from then President Arroyo to to President Aquino, it was held at the Quirino Grandstand. And there was supposed to be a ride, actually. There's supposed to be a ride where the send-off should be there. So the ride back would only have the new president and he will ascend to the palace. But today's setup is a president-elect wants a simple ceremony, does not want to convenience everybody. He wants to keep it right here at the Malacanang Palace and gets to work right after, as soon as he finishes his oath of office.
And we really look forward to the changes that are coming in. He also mentioned during one of his press conferences that there will be not just change, but a transformation.
Yes, well, his term was metamorphosis.
Metamorphosis, that's
because
correct.
we're talking about a very colorful character. And I'm pretty sure during the campaign period, our social media was flooded with a lot of things. Some nice, some not so nice. But the bottom line is, Mayor Duterte, being the master tactician, says, give me time. As soon as I assume office, you will see a different me. And now, also, we'd like to acknowledge on our viewers on Facebook and YouTube, 21,000 and going and rising. And on the YouTube channel, we have 13,000 and rising.
Thank you very much for sharing with us this very important occasion.
I think we say hello to all of them. I think your relatives are also watching wherever they are around the world. Even some people who opt to go online today, even at their offices, we say hello to you. So again, to all you 21,000 on Facebook and 13,000, you can tell your friends. We have the official link. It's posted there at the official Facebook page of Radio TV Malacanang, RTVM. It's right there. Just click on the link and you get to watch us live. Also on Signal Channel 98.
And of course, after this oath-taking ceremony, this inaugural, the next big event will be the State of the Nation address, the very first of the incoming president.
The very first, in the first 100 days, as a matter of fact. We all have our marching orders on the first 100 days that we have to do something monumental. And we have to really hunker down and make sure that we get the job done.
They say the 100 days is not a lot of time, but given the right people like
I'm pretty sure that the cabinet secretaries already have mapped out what they want to do already for the first 100 days of President-elect. And we also want everyone to know that these changes are for the better, for a better country. And as we see already, as our incoming cabinet secretaries await, because they will also have a mass oath taking right after our president assumes office. They will have immediately their mass oath taking, the reason which President-elect Duterte wants them to hit the ground running.
That's correct. Here we see
Executive Secretary Mejoldea there, together with other members of the cabinet, incoming cabinet.
And he will also be receiving the members of the diplomatic community.
Yes, later after his first military honors as president, after he gets to take his oath of office.
But of course, aside from seeing him walk inside the hall, everyone's waiting for that speech, that all-important speech that will be delivered by the president.
As we also see the coverage right now, members of the incoming cabinet, and including we see a lot of well, we see some comeback cabinet secretaries for the sole basis of performance. Earlier we interviewed incoming Secretary Bello. He's a man of integrity too. Also, we got to see new faces in the cabinet, like incoming DPWH Secretary Villar, who also has a tall order, and he's also tasked to hit the ground running. The notable also would be incoming Secretary Dureza, who will be focused on the peace talks to get everybody back in.
That's true. This administration
And two former presidents, of course, in our midst. We are
former
honored to
President
see
Fidel Ramos and former President Joseph Ejercito Estrada.
what I found out, as I told you on a tour here at the palace, there are actually 3 languages where the presidents had delivered messages. Some presidents spoke in our native tongue, which is Tagalog, and that President Estrada is one of them. President Estrada belongs to the majority of the presidents who delivered their speech in English, but there's only one president who delivered his message in Spanish. That was the first president of the Republic, Emilio Aguinaldo. It was in Spanish.
And earlier we had the incoming president give a very controversial statement when he said that he was going to give a 5-minute speech. Do you think we're going to expect that?
I'm actually as excited to know, because knowing Mayor Duterte, once he starts, you know, he everybody loves him, because when he tells a story, everyone is so enrolled with what he says. You know, he's the true mark of a good leader, politician, a seasoned politician at that. He's a master of that. And my experience with the president-elect in Davao, when we go up to the highlands, to the barrios, people don't mind waiting for hours, for as long as they see him arrive. They cry when he tells them a sad story. They laugh with him when he breaks out a joke. That's how powerful this man is, a master of communication too.
And during the campaign, we saw a lot of anecdotes of regular people, of Davaoeños giving their own stories, their interaction with the mayor.
Because for him, as a matter of fact, 2 days ago, when last Monday, when he attended the flag ceremony at Davao City Hall as his last, and wished incoming mayor. Incoming mayor again, Sara Duterte. He told everybody, you know, if there's only whatever change happens right now, it's just that you can't come near me just like that, because the PSG, the Presidential Security Group, has advised me for my own safety, because their job is to protect him. But you know, as much as he can, he says he's still the same person. You know, he loves everybody. He feels sad leaving all of them in Davao City Hall for the longest time, because right now he assumes a bigger responsibility. It is not just a city anymore.
But he did say that for his first 100 days that he will be traveling back and forth Malacanang
Yes,
and Davao to fulfill his job.
Yes, part of, you know, well, of course, we all know that joke about the palace. He says, I don't want to stay in the palace because I fear that there are ghosts in the palace. I cannot sleep well in the palace. So he has to fly frequently now, every week, to do work here at the palace, and then fly back to Davao to also do his duty in Davao City. That's why they're setting up the Malacanang of the South. Again, the last time it was used, it was under then President Gloria Arroyo.
Which is good for not only Davao, but for the whole of Mindanao and the general image of the country.
Yes,
in
it
a
brings
worldwide
everybody
scale.
there. Yes, and for the longest time, also Mindanao has been regarded as an unsafe place. A lot of travel advisories issued by the embassies, particularly the big embassies, saying that, you know, Mindanao is not a safe place to travel. But having a president to work part of the working week there in Davao City would now hopefully send a different message to the members of the diplomatic corps.
And in terms of tourism, that's actually a sad news because Mindanao has so much to offer. A lot of beautiful beaches are yet to be explored
That's
in
what I want to
Mindanao.
ask you. The last time you've been to Davao, well, of course, I know food was number one on your list.
Of course,
Durian? Durian was also number one on your list?
And mangosteen. A lot of fruits actually come from Mindanao, but when
course.
they get here to Manila, they're pretty expensive. That's why it's very good that when you go to Davao or Mindanao provinces in general, you can have as much as you want.
You know what? Speaking of touring now, there are some tour groups in Davao offering the Duterte tour, I heard. And they will take you to the places where he frequents. Like, this is the favorite fruit stand of the president-elect. This is
And
where
the
he gets his-
Carinderia, I
and the
think.
Carinderia, where he has his favorite fare. Even during the time of election, the school, Daniel R. Aguinaldo High School, where he voted, where he cast his vote, the chair that he sat on, immediately the teachers took hold of that chair and kept it. Nobody else sat to that chair after President-elect Duterte cast his vote. They took the chair, they kept it, they secured it, because for them now it's part of history.
And understandably so, the first Mindanaoan president.
From Davao
And
City, yes.
especially that the people from Mindanao have been clamoring for representation and for the voices to be heard.
Yes.
Now, not only a regular politician, but the highest seat in the House.
And having said that, Mindanao's hopes now are raised because finally a son from Mindanao assumes office at the highest level, leads the country, and it's also just to note that most of his winning votes also came from Mindanao. That's how solid his political capital is at the south. I guess that also helped propel him to the highest seat in the land.
That's true. And like earlier, we reviewed or we talked about the background of the incoming president. And before, he passed by the cemetery and had a private moment at the tomb of his
He does
parents.
that. It's part of it. It's a part of his whenever he feels that he wants to ponder on certain things, that's the place he goes to, and he doesn't announce that. He normally even comes at the dead hours of night, just to talk to his mother and his father, who both played a very pivotal role into molding him into be who he is. So I think his mother, Doña Soledad Duterte, played a very pivotal role also in disciplining him into who he is today.
And at this point, one can only imagine what he feels, granting that this is not something that he really wished for. But he got it. He is bestowed this very important power.
That is true. That is true. At the back, if you can notice right now, to all our viewers, we see the honor guards. And these guards will be doing two ceremonies. One for the outgoing president, the 15th president, President Aquino. And the second one, as soon as after the oath of office has been administered, the 16th president will again go back to this field and also be given the honors. So this is... first, we thought that the arrival honors would have been done somewhere else. The rain did not hamper the preparations for Ambassador Painor. But now look at this. The garden has been blessed with rain. So I think everything's in our favor today.
That's true. And we also see members of the Coast Guard patiently
yes, of course,
patrolling the Pasig River along here in
everything has to
Malacanang.
be secured. Look how
Yes.
beautiful the lawn is at Malacanang right now. The guards are just waiting for the outgoing commander-in-chief as they also their way of saying thank you for leading them. Outgoing President Aquino will be will be marching along this line for the last time, as he will be sent off formally by incoming President-elect Rody Duterte. We now see members of the Davao City Council here.
These are the part of the selected
Yes.
600 people.
And these are all active city councilors. And as they're waving to the more than 30,000 viewers now around the world. Thank you very much. Nice to see all of you. Madayao.
And I'm sure people from Davao have their own way of celebrating this momentous
There
event.
are areas now in Davao City that have set up wide screens. So, everybody wants to be part of this occasion. Who would have thought the 16th president is from Mindanao, would come from Mindanao. And that alone would just, everyone, the general feel now of Mindanaoans and the Visayans in general are a sense of pride.
We see some familiar faces as well who were very active during the campaign of incoming President Rodrigo Duterte. Some celebrities,
Yeah,
some personalities in the government
they
as well.
wanted to accommodate everybody, but because like what Ambassador Paino said earlier, we can't accommodate to look at it already, you could see that it is really filled to the capacity.
That's true.
Again, if for those watching around the world, the reason why the oath-taking ceremony is here at the palace, it's because President-elect Rodrigo Duterte would not want to inconvenience the public. He would not want road closures to cause traffic as it is, because Metro Manila, that's also one of his projects now for the first 100 days or so, to find a solution for this worsening traffic situation at the capital. So he decided to have these ceremonies here at Malacanang and to keep it as simple as it is.
Bong, everyone is making that fist sign. Do you have a trivia for us where that gesture started?
Every president would have his own sign that people can say, oh, that is the sign of
Signature.
the signature, right? But of course, Time Magazine called him the Punisher, or at some point called him Verdugo. His macho image is not just all image. He really is a doer of what he says. That's why people love him and respect him, because they can relate to him more. Because to the general public, he's not only approachable, but he's genuine. I think that's also one of the reasons why the voters, he appealed not only to the lower class voters, but also to the middle class, because of his being genuine.
The Davao City will be missing Mayor Duterte, but you have a very able new incoming mayor.
Of course, she is now on her second term as mayor of Davao City, Inday Sara Duterte, who happens to also be the first lady mayor of Davao City and the youngest mayor also of Davao City. Did monumental things for the development of Davao. Is doing also a comeback with this time trying to take it one level higher. Now that having two leaders in one city means that we expect a lot of growth in that part of the Philippines. So we are now minutes away. I think everybody is already in position. We will be witnessing the departure ceremony for the 15th president. President Aquino. I think they're still in that room, that holding room. Again, we don't know what they're talking about. But according to the people inside the palace, it's a tradition that only both of them would know. Even in the send-off at the time, the turnover from former President Arroyo to President Aquino in the car ride, the only people who heard what they were talking about were the bodyguards and the driver. And of course, they have this oath of silence. They cannot say what exactly these two were talking about.
A lot of Filipinos will be waiting and watching out for the first 100 days of the incoming president. And a few of the very popular notions laws that will be implemented are, for example, the implementation of the curfew, like you mentioned earlier, the liquor and smoking bans.
Yes.
As well as what else do you think, the ordinances in Davao that will be implemented here?
Well, for starters, let's start with the most basic of disciplines, the liquor ban and the smoking ban. So Mayor Duterte takes he would want to put a premium on health. So again, everyone will be properly informed. Do not worry. It's contrary to what goes around in social media. Everybody will be properly informed. So minutes from now, Kathy will be starting the ceremonies. Let's go see what the atmosphere is inside the Rizal Hall. Bon Vibar with the details.
Thank you, Bon and Kathy. Well, we're all inside the ceremonial hall, awaiting the entrance of both President Benigno Aquino III and President-elect Rodrigo Roa Duterte. We have seen among the crowd two former presidents, former President Fidel Ramos and former President Joseph Estrada, along with other dignitaries like Senator Aquilino Pimentel, Senator J.B. Ejercito, of course, Senator Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and his sister, Governor of Ilocos Norte, Imelda Marcos. In the meantime, here's a fun fact. Para sa tunay na pagbabago, a song made by Filipino singer and songwriter Freddie Aguilar was meant to be just the President Duterte's campaign jingle. But it was a rarity among other campaign songs, as it was not a lively song meant to brand the candidate's name on people's minds. It was instead a lullaby carrying a message of change for the better. The President was said to have liked the song so much that even after the campaign period, he still listens to it. Well, that's it here at the ceremonial hall. Back to you, Bong and Kathy.
I would love to be in that position where Bon is right now at the Rizal Hall. He has the best vantage point. We also have our own vantage point here. And we also have, but unlike what Bon is having there, we have the best vantage point on the grounds.
On the ground, yes.
Because as you can see behind us right now, I'm always a fan of these ceremonies, military ceremonies. It just adds up to my sense of pride. And I'm sure that all of you also watching right now, the more than 30,000, I think it's more than 30,000 right now. Do not forget, if you want the President-elect to answer back on Twitter, make sure that you put the hashtag President Duterte. All right?
And hashtag partner for change.
That's right. So, again, any minute now we will be having both presidents.
And these activities are part of the traditions being done here in Malacanang, as well as the protocols of being
Yes.
observed for incoming and outgoing presidents.
Also later, we will, as part of the protocols, a part of the ceremony, later the youngest daughter, I think, will be holding the Bible, where our President-elect will be putting his hand while he takes his oath of office. That's
And
something interesting.
And as earlier also mentioned in the video, not all presidents had their hands on top of the Bible.
Yes, not all presidents. Every president would have his own way of doing things. And so far, our 16th president, President-elect Duterte, wants to keep it as simple as possible. So that's also something new. We see a president who's eager to serve already. He will waste no time, mind you, once he assumes his oath of office, because immediately he will have his first cabinet meeting. He will give his official marching orders, the same day, today, after lunchtime, afternoon.
And earlier, while we were talking about the liquor and the smoking ban, you
Yes.
said that one of the reasons is his regard for the health of not only the people who are engaged
Especially
in
the
sexual
children.
especially the children. And he
Especially
did
the
also
children.
mention that before he intends to put all the funds that will be gathered from PAGCOR for health benefits. of
Okay, the health
Filipinos.
benefits, I think that this goes back to a program that he did in Davao. It's called Lingap para sa Mahirap. This program at the time, and I had the honor to serve even both mayors at the time, offers medical assistance to people below, not only people from below poverty line, but people who really literally wealth. If you don't have money, you won't get the best treatment. But Lingap na para sa mahirap is something that he will now do on a national scale. And yes, we now see the outgoing president and the incoming president ready to march outside the palace. This will be a march towards the palace grounds, where outgoing President Aquino will be given his departure honors.
We now see their descent together.
History in the making. Both presidents, I don't know, these things, only the both of them will know what they were talking about. Unless President-elect Rodi Duterte would spill the beans in some parts, but I don't think so. Maybe they're just following tradition.
They're now here in the palace grounds.
All smiles for the outgoing president, President-elect Duterte, in his usual no-nonsense demeanor. Now, at least now he's a bit smiling, so he will now assume his post yet. He is not yet the official president, so this honors will be for outgoing President Aquino, the departure honors. After which, after he troops the line for one last time, he will be sent off officially by incoming President Duterte. He will board the presidential limousine for the last time and will be taken back home to his residence at Times Street.
Dadala. Kalis. Tanghal. Ta! Kalpunan, mga pinunot kawal. Tanghal. Ta! Dadala. Kalis. Baba. Ta! Mahal na Pangulo, handa na po ang tanod pandangal upang libutin. Pangulo, tawat, ugay kamay. Ha! Kamay. Ha! Tanghal. Ta! Kalpunan, tanghal. Ta! Baba, ta! Dadala. Kalis. Baba. Ta! mahal na Pangulo, tapos na po ang parangal. Yes, sir. Mga kasama, pinapaabot ng ating mahal na Pangulo, kagalang-galang Benigno S. Aquino III, ang kanyang taus-pusong pasasalamat sa parangal na ginawad natin sa kanya ngayong umaga. Baba, kalis.
So we now see, we just witnessed the departure ceremony for outgoing President Aquino. And now he will be sent off formally by incoming President Duterte. That's the Sheikh. You can see that, Kathy, and he now boards the limousine that will take him home to his original residence at Time Street.
Where a group of people will also be welcoming him.
Yes, it's like a welcome home of sorts.
Yes.
We also heard that he did a lot of redecorating because that house at Time Street is a very sentimental place for him. So President Aquino would want to come back to a happier place. And I guess right now he can take a quick sigh of relief that his obligations to the country as the 15th president for 6 years have now come to an end. And now he will be the citizen or former President Aquino. We can hear the applause now, even from our guests inside Rizal Hall. And making his way back will be the new president. In minutes, we will be witnessing his oath of office as he will be sworn in as the 16th president, the first from Davao City, from Mindanao, Batang Mindanao, Rodrigo Roa Duterte. I wonder what they were talking about as soon as the departure honors were. It was a candid talk, as a matter of fact.
It was. And now we see him
Still
entering
coming
the Malacanang
the
Palace
side
again.
door, yes, not the official door where the steps
Main
are.
entrance,
He is not yet officially the president. He will ascend to those steps later after he takes his oath of office.
That was the side lobby entrance.
So he is now making his way to the side entrance of the palace. He will have minutes first of time for himself yet before he will be sworn in, because we will do that officially at noon. So that we still have around 49 minutes to do that. And we now see 600 strong guests, members of cabinet, members of the diplomatic corps, awaiting the arrival of the 16th President of the Republic of the Philippines. Here in this hall at the palace, at Malacanang Palace, he will he will take his oath of office and immediately start working. Very simple, guys. I love his get up today. I love the way our 16th president is
One of the few times that we see him
in barong.
Yes.
In barong, because he rarely wears a barong. I could still remember back in the early 2000s when Davao City was a host to the ASEAN Tourism Forum. He was expected to give a talk, and so and we were all joking, knowing him, that he does not like to wear a barong. So he did wear a barong, but he wore a barong on top of his maong. So that drew a lot of reactions from people, because President-elect Duterte says, "What you see is what you get." I will not pretend to be who I'm not. That's the character of our new president.
But Bong, former Mayor Rodrigo Duterte earlier said that he would want to be called mayor. Do you think that this moniker will stick around for long?
Well, it depends. Again, we're looking at a president who says he is not a big fan of adulation. He does not want to be revered. Because a President-elect Duterte says, I'm a public servant. I'm not a king. And that's how he wants people. He wants people to be close to him, because he owes it to the people, and that's the way it should be. And also, just to note, Kathy, I'll give an example. I was in one of his meetings before, and it was in this private function room, and of course it was kind of cramped, and we were there. So he was already addressing the people inside the room while we were doing the meeting, and it was so cramped that one of the waiters, the food servers, had to pass in front of him, because the space was limited. All right, the space was limited, and every time he would pass in front of President-elect Duterte, he would bow, crouch, or so as not to get in the way of President-elect Duterte. So he did this not once, not twice. He did 3 times, because that's the only way he could cross. So when he crossed for the 4th time or 5th time, I think, President-elect Duterte stopped the meeting. And he goes like, "Sandali lang." And the waiter felt so scared. He thought that his attention was called because of him interrupting. You know what President-elect Duterte said? He said, "Why do you," he was talking to the waiter, he says, "Why are you crouching every time you pass in front of me? You can just say, 'Excuse me.'" And the waiter, befuddled, he was scratching his head, and then he gives this impromptu lecture to all of us, saying, "That's the problem the Spaniards left. For 400 years, we were made to feel like Indios. So starting today," and he was talking still to the waiter, "do not bow in front of me when you pass. Just say, 'Excuse me,' and pass. Where is your dignity?" That's the type of president also we'll be having, President-elect Duterte. I'm sharing this. That's one of the stories that I could fondly remember of having the privilege to serve him.
There are a lot of interesting anecdotes indeed, especially with people like you that work with him.
Well, some of us. I know of some of the members of the guests right now. I saw them earlier on the monitor who have served them longer. Maybe later I could try, once the ceremony starts, maybe later I could try to bring them over, and they could tell you better stories. Here's another story that I will tell you. At City Hall, because President-elect Duterte likes to work. He's not an early riser. He wants to get his 8 hours sleep before he actually works after lunch. So, if you're working at City Hall and you're one of the last persons, and he's still there at City Hall, he makes the rounds on any office that's open at City Hall at that time before he leaves. And if he chances upon you inside that office, he would ask you, kumain ka na ba? Have you had dinner? And he would ask you, what are you doing? Are you still working? Yes, sir. He says, and then he would gesture. He goes like this. He goes like, come here. Actually, he would call whoever's left inside City Hall, even non-government officials, like guests, to have dinner with him. He likes to have that in a simple karinderya. And everyone's seated there, and he wants whatever he's eating, everybody eats. So that also speaks of what type of personality, what type of character President-elect Duterte has, and that's genuine character.
These behaviors of the president-elect have been gaining a lot of attention, and he has already a reputation in the global community. What do you think will the international community, how do you think will they look at the Philippines once he assumes office, being led by a leader like this?
Okay, for the international community, President-elect Duterte knows his geopolitics really well, contrary to what other people assume otherwise. But President-elect Duterte knows his geopolitics well. He knows the right people to tap, to get things done. And remember, President-elect Duterte is as soon as he assumes office, he knows the immense pressure of what is going on around the world, global terrorism. Just recently, we saw the news in Turkey. He will factor that in. How will it affect us? The ongoing talks with China over territorial rights. He pretty much will have his plate full as soon as he hits the ground running. That's why he hires really good people to surround him, to help him get the job done. It's now just a matter of which one will President-elect Duterte prioritize.
And speaking of priority, one of his priorities is to really increase infrastructure spending.
Yes, of course. Just to boost the economy, he wants to make sure that not only is it a growing economy, but also a growing citizenry, based on discipline. I think we have word now that we'll be starting the program in a couple of minutes. The oath-taking ceremony. We can see inside already at the Rizal Hall, everyone already in position, and we will also witness the oath-taking ceremony. But right now, we would like to give you a message from incoming DTI Secretary Ramon Lopez. Let's watch this.
Today, I am Ramon M. Lopez, Department of Trade and Industry Secretary. I am a partner for change. As a Cabinet Secretary, I will take the lead in really creating a revolution, but this time a revolution towards creating an entrepreneurial